Hello everyone. Hi, this is Rishabh Pandey from I'm a physics faculty at askIITians, and today we are going to cover the topic that is human eye and the colorful world. This chapter is relatively important, but please make sure before watching this lecture, please make sure that you have already studied the previous chapter, that is light. Otherwise, this will be a quite a difficult thing for you. All right. Although I'll try to take the things from the very basics so that you might not face that much problem. Well, this chapter is really important, right? Because this you'll be frequently asked question from this chapter in board examinations, and the best part is that this chapter does not contain numericals much, so you'll have only the theoretical concepts to be studied, and that's really a very good thing, and then that's going to help you a lot for that. And this chapter, obviously, this will be a great mark scorer for you. And moreover, I say, then this chapter is quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting because we can see the world with the help of our eye, and now it's time for us to understand the nature of our eye itself, right? So, this is quite an interesting chapter. We'll be finishing off with this. For this chapter, we'll be finishing off with the two of the things, that is the structure and working of the human eye, and how does it functions and what are the various parts of it which we have to study, and the power of accommodation. These two things will be finishing off in today's lecture, right? Now, starting with the first, that is the structure of the human eye. Now, basically what I have done is, uh, obviously for a dead man, what people done is that they took out the eyeballs, right, put a cross section of it, right? They basically cut it into two equal parts, and now they have started to study what are the various parts of this human eye and what are the various functioning. I mean, how does it basically functions? So if I say, then the outer covering which you see over here, you know, what we have done is we have taken a cross section, and from that cross section, first we are going to cover the outer covering, outer covering, this outer covering which you see over here, right? We have this outer covering, and then this part. It's almost spherical, and it's almost spherical, except this particular part, which is like quite a bulged out one. As you can see, this is a bit bulged out. So basically, this is the front part of our eye, which you can see, right? This is the front part of our eye, which is basically bulged out, right? It is called as cornea, and the front part is called as cornea. If I talk about the outer covering, it has been named as cornea, right? Moving inside, here we have this two part. I mean, for people, you can see that for people, they have some few people have blue colored eyes, few people have brown colored eyes, right? So basically this is that coloring part, this part, as you can see, is coloring, and this is called as this coloring part I'm talking about. This coloring part is called as iris, and this coloring part is called as iris. Now, if I talk about this iris is quite an interesting thing to be knowing about, because iris, I can say the color of eye has been given the name of iris. Few people have blue colored eyes, few people have brown colored eyes, right? It depends upon person to person. It depends upon various factors of genetics. And within that particular part, I mean, let me, if I draw this, let's say this is the iris part which I'm drawing, and it somewhat looks like this. Say this is that particular part with a hole like structure over here. With this, where this will be blue colored, completely blue colored, right? This will be blue colored, and the inner part, as you can see, is like this. If you have noticed, this is like this, right? So the outer part, this outer part is called as iris, the colored part. And what does this do? It helps in reflection. It helps in reflection, reflection of light. And this inner part, as you can see, this is the main part, as you all, or you can say that this is basically the entrance into our eye. So entrance, I can write it as entrance is given by the name of pupil. So pupil has a kind of entrance like structure over here. So let's say that in our eyes, you know, in our eyes, let me erase this first. You know, let's say a number of light rays basically try to enter in our eye, like say this light ray, light ray, light ray, light ray, light ray, and light ray. So these are various light rays. Now, if all of these light ray will enter in our eyes, and since we have very sensitive cells over here, so this can basically damage them, right? So that's why this small opening is required. Otherwise, such a large amount of light ray constantly entering our eyes can damage the cells. So is this pupil important? Yes, this pupil is very much important. What about the other eyes which cannot enter this pupil, right? Well, like for example, as you can see over here, out of this total, only these three. Let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Only these three lights can enter. As I can see from the diagram, only these three lights can enter. The rest will be reflected back. The pupil does not allow the remaining ones, so they will be reflected back, right? It's like a reflection or like a rejection of those lights. So we don't want those much lights. Now, this light will enter. Here we have a lens. Here we have a lens. Now this lens can be called as guard of eye, which is basically lens. What's the importance of lens? Basically, lenses are important. Absolutely, lenses are very much important. Why they are important? Because say these light rays needs to be formed over here, on the retina part. This is the place where the images is being formed. Now, if a light ray will enter and it will go like this, will it be of any help? No, because this light ray will go waste, isn't it? This will be absolutely waste and this won't help you at all. So the point is that just to help prevent that, basically this uh, lens is quite an important thing because converge all such rays to one single point like this, you know, so that all these three rays which are basically trying to enter the eyes can be fully utilized, right? So lenses are important. And here we have the retina where as I said, we have the retina where the image is formed. Image is formed here. As you can see, the images are being formed over here. So this is a place of image formation. Can be said, isn't it? Place of image formation. Obviously, after the images are being formed, then with the help of those optical nerves, they are taken to the brain, and where it you know transcript everything into the human format, right? Here we have in between this empty region, as you can see, this empty region is filled with this liquid that is called as vitreous. This is called as vitreous body, or you can also call it as vitreous fluid, right? Vitreous body or vitreous fluid. This fluid is basically covered in all these regions, right? In all these regions. Because if this fluid will not be covered over here, and this fluid will not be present over here, the shape of the ball cannot be kept like that, right? Due to pressures and other factors. So the shape will get distorted. Obviously, that will affect it. So this vitreous body basically is the backbone, or you can say it's the basic holding structure, right? So again, we have the name for this. That is the sixth part, vitreous fluid, as you can say as stand of eye, or backbone of eye. Any nickname can be given, right? Basically, giving nicknames to these structures helps you in remembering that. Also, here we have a fluid like structure, right? So there are basically not only just one fluid, there are basically two fluids present over here. So this part is also covered with fluid. This part is also covered with fluid, and this part has fluid of a level of, like, say, you can say that it contains 99% water and 1% some minerals or vitamins, some minerals or vitamins, right? So we have outer covering. Outer covering is then followed by this iris and pupil part. Before iris and pupil part is that water jelly like structure, which is 99% water and 1% of some minerals or fluid or vitamins. Then we have the entrance. Before that we have that iris part. Iris basically acts as a reflector. Then we have the entrance, that is the pupil, which allows the light to be entering into the eye. As soon as it enters into the eye, it is then welcomed by a lens that's called, can be called as guard of the eye. This is basically lens. It is a convergent lens. Obviously the power of the converging lens can be accommodated. That's the next topic, we'll get back to it. But the power of this lens can be adjusted. If I want to increase the converging power, then it can be adjusted, or if I want to decrease the converging power, again that can be adjusted with the help of ciliary body or ciliary muscles. And so we have last thing over here that can be called as um, controller. Can we say that, right? Controller, and that is called as ciliary muscles. What is exactly its use? We'll get back to it. But ciliary muscles basically try to adjust the size of this lens, right, as per the requirement. And those light rays which are entering into this part, those light rays are entering into the part are converged at one point that is called as retina, and after retina they are made to go towards the brain, transported towards the brain by with the help of the optical nerves. So this is basically the structure of the human eye, as you can see. I hope this is clear, right? Right. Moving on, this is the working of the human eye, as you can see. Now let's say, as you can see, this a ray of light coming from here, a ray of light coming over here. With the help of the converging lens, it crosses and goes like this. Similarly, this ray of light coming, crossing it, and forming an image like this. So what you basically see is a real image, isn't it? Because it's inverted, right? It is an inverted image, and so this is real in nature, real in nature, right? So we have an eye lens, iris, as you can see, and pupil. Ciliary muscles are adjusting the size of the lens, and the light rays are entering with the help of this pupil, as you can see, right? Pupil allows the light rays to be entering through them, and here at the retina. So this part is, again, as you can see, it's retina, correct? Here we have the retina, here we have the ciliary muscles, pupil, iris, eye lens, and so on, right? As you can see, an enlarged diagram of this. This is what? Ciliary muscles, correct? And this is the lens. Here basically we'll have, at the end we have the retina, and here is that iris and pupil part. And before that it is filled with, as I said, it is filled with a jelly like structure, which is 99% water and 1% of various vitamins. So this is pupil and iris, correct? So this is the basic working of the human eye. Moving on, the last thing which we need to cover today for is power of accommodation. Now, what's power of accommodation? Let's try to have a discussion on that. Like, for example, you just try to understand this thing by say I have a lens like this. Yeah? Forget about eye, just talking about a general lens. This is a biconvex lens, right? This is a principal axis, and I have an object over here. I have an object over here. Here I have an object. This is not very far, right? And I expect the image to be formed over here. So basically point is that a ray will pass out from here like this, which will go and get converged like this, and similarly this ray will fall and come, and the image will be formed over here. Point is, this is the first case, say this is case 1. If I talk about the second case, again this is a lens with this as the principal axis, and say the object is at infinity, the object is at infinity. So this is basically case 2, and in this situation at infinity is the case. So let's say there's a ray of light entering parallelly. So a ray of light coming over here, crossing, and then going like this. Similarly, another ray of light coming over here, converging and going like this. So here we'll get the image ultimately. Now, if you consider these two cases, at which of the following cases I need the converging power to be more? Try to understand. At which point I need the converging power to be more? Obviously, at the second case, isn't it? At the second case, I need more converging power. More converging power. Converging power. As compared to the first case, right? Now, how does it relates with the power of accommodation? You can just understand it by understanding the principle of power of accommodation or the ciliary muscles. Like for example, I have a lens-like structure over here, which is holded together by the ciliary muscles. Now, if I have an object which is very close to the eye, right, it's just in front of me. So I need the lens to be a bit more thicker, because power is inversely proportional to the focal length, as you know, right? Power is inversely proportional to the focal length. So if it will become thick, the focal length will increase, right? Thicker the lens is, the more the focal length is. And if it will have a more focal length, then power will decrease. That means the converging power will decrease, correct? So I have something which is very close to my eye. I need the lens to have the minimum power of convergence, because it's already, going to touch the retina in that case. So what the ciliary muscles do, it stretches, compresses the lens to its full, like as in the second case you can see over here in the diagram. The object is at the near point, and thus this lenses are expanded like this. Right? They are expanded like this, totally compressed. Now, since now they have a higher focal length, and due to higher focal length, the power of accommodation is lesser. And since the power of accommodation is less, so that's why less convergence, as you can see over here. Right? Similarly, I have in this case one, I have something which is very far, and for that I need more power of accommodation. So what they have done is they have expanded, the ciliary muscles have expanded the lens like this, and due to expansion, basically the focal length will decrease, and if the focal length will decrease, the power will increase, correct? Now if the power will increase, the convergence power of the rays will be increasing. Like for example, this ray will be more convergent, right, as compared to this. So accommodation, power of accommodation is that depending upon the situation, or depending upon the position of the object, lens tries to adjust its size. Like for example, if something is very far, it expands like this, so that the focal length could be decreased and the power could be increased. And if something is very close to us, you can see that this the focal length will basically, what I was saying, yeah, focal length will basically increase and the power will decrease, and thus the convergence power of the lens will ultimately decrease. Is this thing clear? So power of accommodation and power of, power of accommodation. Also, there's one more thing which needs to be discussed. Like for example, in this case, if I have something which is very far, in that case, this has been given a term that is called as far-sightedness. Far-sightedness, right? As you can see over here, it has been discussed in this question. Like for example, the condition image, the image is formed behind the retina. So in this case, the answer is far-sightedness. image is found behind the retina. Similarly, if the image is found in front of the retina, then in that case it is called as nearsightedness, right? So as you can see, the case one is called as farsightedness, and the case 2 is called as nearsightedness, nearsighted, depending on the situation, right? Moving on, the focal length of the eye lens increases when eye muscles. I mean, if the focal length will decrease, and I mean, sorry, if the focal length will increase, try to understand the situation. That focal length of the eye lens is increasing. That means the focal length, uh, yes, focal length is increasing, which means that the power of the lens will decrease. And the power of the lens decreases. That means, as you can see over here, are relaxed and the lens becomes thinner, right? The lens becomes thinner, right? So this was all for today's. I mean, if I have a look at all the cases right now which we have studied today, is the first case, that is the basic structure of the human eye. What are the basic structures? I have also tried giving you some basic nomenclatures like nicknames of various parts, so that it could be easily remembered. Similarly, this was the working of the eye. This was the power of accommodation. If I was to pick three most important topic from this chapter, Human Eye in the Colorful World, one of this is power of accommodation. So power of accommodation will be a sure shortcut. Now questions will be asked for sure from this part, right? Sure. Thank you.